being drafted up here by OMG. Just going to insta-lock in that Wukong. I believe this is Juhan's most played, so he's right at home with this character. And Croco, I do wonder what he'll do or pick in terms of an answer. There are several against a champion like Wukong, but that Varus being hovered, like you said, Yanni, both of these ADCs like this champion.
They really pick up for LNG, and that's going to be tough for a Wukong to fight through later on. That Chains of Corruption can cause a lot of problems. Wukong not necessarily known for being able to get out of the wide range of that Chains. LNG, we could just, we're just going to go back to what we saw in the jungle for most of 2025. Xin Zhao and Wukong coming together. You had mentioned the potential team fighting. Here it is. Here's some early fighting. We've got Misfortune, and then the Leona lock-in would not surprise me.
I mean, this is the 2v2 that dominated every time OMG were ahead. It was usually because Starry would go Misfortune and Moham was willing to go things like the Leona to just go absolutely buck wild with the engages. Combine that with the Cyclone here for Juhan. I do think that OMG have a really good start to this comp, but one thing they are starkly lacking, Yanni, is a little bit of magic damage. So I do think LNG are going to be targeting that mid lane pool.
Yep, you could already see Talia going to be taken off the board. And now, if you're OMG, this Renata throws a big wrench into your plans because you want to be so far in. So your top laner and your jungler, they're going to have to, or your mid laner, are going to have to pick champions that can kind of slide in and out potentially. I'm looking for an Ahri for Haichao. What do you think?
I like Ahri for Haichao. I wouldn't hate if we... Yeah, I feel like Ahri is probably the best pickup here, especially with the mid lane pools being progressively more constricted. I do think you might be locked into that. I can't see if you want to play a little bit more onto the pick combo and work with the Leona here, you could go for like the Syndra. I wouldn't hate that idea, especially because it's a good way of getting Croco off your back if he does find an angle onto Starry or any of the other backline members that OMG might have yet to be drafted up here, as LNG are going to go for the Azir. So, you know, we saw a jungle matchup handshake. We might just see a similar thing happen with mid, Yanni.
Is it still LCK Azir if he's in the LPL? These are the questions that we need to have answered.
Is he a Karis or a rookie? That's the question. How does he pilot the LCK Azir?
So we're gonna see Victor come through here for Haichao. I mean, I don't really like it in this particular sense here. I understand why they banned the Syndra, but I guess it's just because you need to match the scaling that this Azir can provide. And if you're going to lock in the Sion, I understand that Sion is just a generically good champion, but you're getting more value out of this Renata over on the side of LNG.
I am also not super big on the Rek'Sai top, simply because this is usually a lane sterilizer. This is a champion who just stalemates the lane, right? Doesn't interact with them. He's got a million tunnels in the lane and just looks to be a nuisance until inevitably he is a pick tool with that knockup. But I mean, what are you preventing in the early game from getting ahead on the side of OMG? This is a team fight comp that wants to scale into the late game. I don't think Rek'Sai actually has a ton of uses against this Sion. He can be a little bit annoying because you're going for that E, so that damage can be a bit pesky when dealing with Hery. It can be good for LNG, but you know, I'm looking at the team fights, I'm looking at the 5v5s, and I feel like Rek'Sai is really going to struggle into those, which is not on the same theme as the rest of this comp from LNG, who are built around trying to team fight, trying to 5v5, and trying to counter the bullet time combination that OMG have set themselves up for.
Honestly, Quacks, if Sheer goes tank, I have to disagree with you. I think that if Sheer gets to that point where he's on 2.5 to 3 items, he's going to be very difficult to kill, right? Because Misfortune known for having a lot of burst, but sometimes the sustain damage can be lacking. We're going to have to see what we're going to have out of Starry's runes. But I have seen too many Rek'Sais just be so difficult for AD carries to kill. Now, moving toward jungle talk here, because I know you love your junglers. Juhan, I think that if Juhan has the same strategy that he had last game, where he goes to the bottom lane, it will be successful for OMG. Build that bridge for Haichao. Over on the other side, LNG Croco needs to do the same, be part of the bridge with 1xN to get BuLLDog to that late game as we're on to Summoner's Rift.
They were just like play slapping each other like, I was the cool DRX jungler in 2023. No, I was the cool jungler of DRX in 2023, as they both walk back to their respective topside buffs, and we'll be starting on the same side, so they could end toward that bot crab. More than likely, we'll be seeing what we saw in game number 1, where priority will dictate who gets that crab, and the other one will likely move up to level 4, but I'm not going to rule out the possibility of a 3v3, especially because both Xin Zhao and Wukong are looking to scrap in these early levels. And for the case of Juhan, like you said, Yanni, that level 6, once you get that Cyclone, never leave the bot lane. Set up your tent and allow that pressure to put behind 1xN and missing.
Couple of notes. We saw Guardian in the bot lane over for our Renata for missing to make sure that he doesn't instantly get blown up for Moham. Sorry, should have some sustained damage with press the attack. So a little bit more what I was looking for, especially when he's going to have to deal with a guy like Sheer later.
Yeah, Sheer. Interested on how this Rek'Sai is going to end up panning out. I mean, you did... I agree with you. I think that this is a champion who will be very tanky, will be good at trying to get into the backline and, you know, another tool to just interrupt these bullet times. But I do think that if he is not able to, you know, find those angles, if he gets picked off by Moham, if he gets knocked up by Wukong, it could be very, very dangerous for him, as we are seeing Croco cut and try to interrupt Juhan on his full clear. Wukong is noticeably weaker in the skirmishes compared to Xin Zhao. He really is reliant on that first item and level 6. So I like Croco abusing this.
Yeah, but the problem is his mid laner's on a recall right now. This thing is nearby. Smite fight goes over to Juhan. Now he's level 4, but the handshake is well placed. Haichao cannot get close. Flash for flash, but they're going to get on top of missing. 1xN looking to join the fight here as we've got a full 3v3. Starry bringing up the rear as well. First blood going over to 1xN. Double kill for 1xN. He's looking for
no
Starry
shot.
Next. It's Croco who gets it. And LNG, a 4 for nothing. 3 minutes into the game.
And you can see Croco with the player cam. My man was elated. 3v4, down numbers, mid laner on a recall, Yanni. None of that matters. LNG with a 4 for 0 off of a smite fight on the blue buff. And I can't even fault OMG for this. I think Moham had the right idea. He hits the Zenith Blade, they lock down a target, but the big thing, I think, was the bailout. The moment you see Juhan, who is absorbing all of this pressure, or Croco rather, absorbing all of this pressure, and he lives through all of it, that's just absolutely absurd. LNG with a huge win for themselves, not even 5 minutes into the game, Yanni.
And it's the problem with Haichao having this victor, not the strongest champion early on in the game. Juhan quite a bit weaker than Croco early. That was the difference. That's why you're able to win that fight 3v4. And LNG, again, just starting off on the right foot. So far, I have not seen an instance where OMG has been the better team. And Quacks, I fear that we might not see that.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, what about there?
He's dead. Is he? He's just dead.
Nah.
How is Sheer gonna escape this?
He's
not. That's the answer. Juhan is going to pick up his Sheer camp. You can see Sheer's player cam. He's like, man, what happened to Hery? It's just like, what is this guy doing?
Sheer on the play. The player cams from LNG this game have been great. From the absolute face of joy that Croco had winning that bot side fight to the utter disappointment facepalm from Sheer. I love these reactions from the LNG players so far. You were saying, hey, we haven't seen a moment where OMG have been the better team. Case number 1. Maybe it'll be the only case. Who knows?
No, that's individual players, Quacks. I'm sorry. That was
that's
an
part of
individual
OMG. That's
player
part of
mistake.
LNG.
That was a misinput from Sheer. Surely.
Misinput. LNG.
Well, OMG get there first, but LNG is already on this dragon. And the bot lane, they're just way too strong at this point in time to be pushed off of it. So LNG gonna have the rule of the roost for this early game.
Yep, trade deal. I get a Ruby Crystal and a Longsword. You get a Tunneler and a Longsword. Croco, that's an absolute scam. My man uses that power, flexes that item advantage to secure that dragon, and honestly, I feel like he can take it a step further. We've got the grubs coming up in, you know, just a little bit, and I don't think that Juhan, even with that kill, even with that Sheen acquisition, is going to be able to challenge Croco for a lot of these river priorities that they might be going for. So I expect the bullying from the Xin Zhao to just continue at this point.
I'm a little sad that LNG came out to such a huge lead early on because I think this might not be a factor. But I don't know if you've noticed, but Haichao has elected not to take teleport this game. He has Flash Ghost. We'll hold that thought for a moment as Juhan is going to go all in on Croco here with the Cyclone as well. Croco having a big issue with him. BuLLDog moving over, looking to save his jungler. Job done. LNG picking up another.
It was a good look there from Juhan. I mean, he almost manages to get the solo kill, but Croco does live for just a little bit too long, and BuLLDog is able to provide reinforcements. The Emperor helping his people, and most importantly, Croco just gets yet another kill. He'll get very, very close to first item at this point. If he's able to actually acquire that by the time these grubs come up, that is just, I feel, a checkmate that LNG can use to own this topside river and really bully OMG off of any priority they might try to gain from these grubs, or getting into these grubs.
40 seconds till those grubs are up, and the bot lane is showing up top. Hery has canceled his back in an effort to go after Sheer. He's slowed up by the Make It Rain, but he'll be able to tunnel over the wall. So 2.5 we'll call it, because Hery stopped his recall. Members of OMG could not stop Sheer from escaping.
And members of OMG or LNG rather are resetting. They're going to try and move their bot lane down toward this top side to at least be numerically even with OMG ahead of these grubs. But that does mean that OMG do grab a plate. Starry, at the very least, on this misfortune is going to get, like you said, some turret candy. And priority, most critically, goes the way of OMG on this top side, though. Juhan is on the bot side of the map. He is actually not looking to go onto these grubs on spawn, probably because he doesn't have that Cyclone, wants to bide his time and make sure he gets all of these conditions ready if they decide to fight.
Croco runs right into Hery. He's forced to flash away, so he was on the wrong side of the map for a moment. So another nice play by the LNG jungler, as those grubs are sitting up there very lonely right now with both bot lanes upstairs. We'll see Juhan be the first one to move up a little bit here. BuLLDog down to about half HP, down a level, as the pressure is on. OMG's mid and jungle looking to start putting the squeeze on LNG in this top side.
Yeah, Juhan is moving. You can see Haichao is now alone in mid, at least for a little bit, and that laser is going to start dealing a ton of damage to the backline minions, so getting priority in that lane is going to be really easy for OMG. And even though they don't have prio on the top side, they can still get some hands into this top side river. But just LNG, I mean, you already have the sundered sky. I feel like that's just too much of an obstacle for OMG to handle at this point.
Yeah, and the big obstacle has really been 1xN and missing, because they were able to take control first. Juhan went back in, and he has to flash out. OMG's bot lane can move over to this fight. Hey, Starry is down 30 CS right now. I mean, the disaster from the early game still reverberating through this entire game so far, Quacks.
It absolutely is, and a really random play there from Juhan. I don't even think he got the grab. He didn't even have smite. That was just a full-on Hail Mary, if ever I've seen one. He's forced to burn the flash as well, so even if he does decide to go in for this engage, which he won't be able to do, as now Croco is on the back side. They're looking to go for a dive here. They've got the ultimate for
hostile
missing.
takeover is ready. They're all in the corner. There it is. It hits multiple members. Moham hand shook out of his Zenith blade, and it's a thing of beauty on the dive, and you know they're going in for round 2. Starry gonna be the target. Bullet time on the way out.
Oh!
And 1xN will bleed out in the top lane. A shutdown for Starry.
Just the slight increase of range on the turrets there, I think, meant the difference between life and death for 1xN. Unfortunately, he does go down, but it's still a winning trade for LNG. They still get the dive off, and they still funnel more resources into this Varus, more resources into this Xin Zhao, and that is more than enough to, off of the respawn, redeploy onto this bot side and start setting up for the second dragon.
Really difficult stuff coming out. We see in the replay bit of a farce between our mid laners. Things were really not that great for the moment. Things have not been great for the moment for OMG, down almost 4,000 gold. As this dragon is now up on the bottom side with jungle and support backing over on the side of OMG. Looks like there could be an opportunity to pick up this dragon when they'd like.
That tower does not like void creatures. I'm convinced. That thing has Rek'Sai's number. Going back to this replay, I mean, missing, that was an absolutely beautiful handshake. That was an absolute, like you said, it took him out of the Zenith blade. And then, I actually want to see 1xN here. So he steps out. He was really far away from the turret. I do legitimately think.
Range.
Yeah.
It's that increase of 5 range, baby. That did it. 1xN was probably like, I'm out of there.
Yeah. That is a little unfortunate for 1xN, but still, it does not stop the train of LNG from bulldozing here in game number 2. They are still super far ahead. Those 2 dragons still belong to them, and 1xN still has a 1.3k gold lead over Starry, despite that misfortune getting the kill.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a huge lead for LNG that they haven't elected to shift their bot lane into the mid lane yet. I mean, you have... you're starting to get there with your quests. So I guess you're just looking to finish those off. But typically by this time is when you'd see some sort of swap going on and get BuLLDog into a side lane with that Gnasher's Tooth. But, I mean, you're just stomping so hard. I mean, there's just really no reason to. BuLLDog's never under any pressure.
Sheer using his ult for damage onto Hery. We can see the quests are starting to be completed here by LNG. I think the big thing is 1xN.
Uh-oh, 1xN could not sidestep. Will cleanse.
Didn't have to
and
flash.
hang on to his flash.
Yeah, that is a really important summoner spell to keep, especially because, well, it is still very far out, about 3.5 minutes until that next dragon. Flash has an even longer timer at 5 minutes, so that extra, minute 30 of overlap could be something OMG have an opportunity to exploit. They won't get that chance though, as we're just looking at those quests for LNG to be completed. OMG Haichao actually completes mid lane quest before BuLLDog does. So this Victor,
it was that damage in the early game in that fight that he did. Yeah,
true, actually. That does make the difference. Wow, a lot of things are just funneling back to that one play 3 minutes into the game, Yanni. That's crazy.
This one might be a little bit less impactful, as everybody on LNG, save for top lane, has completed theirs. We're now going to see them try to attack Moham here with a handshake. Juhan waiting in the wings to go in, waiting to see if LNG is going to overcommit for a potential dive. It looks like that could be the case. Moham and Starry stuck on an island with a turret. Now, getting crashed with that wave in. Here we go. Engaged
going early.
Croco, missing. Still has an ultimate ready to go here. Moham escaping just barely, but it'll finally go down. Haichao on the backside looking for 1xN, but Haichao's got to get out. 1xN lives. Meanwhile, Croco just going after Juhan, keeping him away. Turret goes down. Starry goes down. LNG cleaning up OMG again.
That arrow from 1xN did so much damage to Starry. It was another early and easy pick there for BuLLDog on the Azir. LNG just dominating in this game. 12 kills to 2, as we are going to get a replay. And I was a little bit concerned about the target selection here. I don't think Juhan being in the area was going to dissuade the tower dive in any way, shape, or form, but I was concerned about OMG going early here. but it all falls apart. Haichao is completely alone. BuLLDog picks him off. And then Croco is just having a spar with Juhan, manages to secure that one. And we're not actually going to be able to see how much damage that arrow did, but you're just going to have to imagine the fire as LNG are setting this game ablaze.
Croco dancing around that turret range, by the way. That increased turret range. Really, really well played by him. That's going to be Herald picked up and immediately getting used. We don't care that the dragon is up in 1 minute. We're just going to drop it down now and maybe look for a play onto Starry even. Starry not going to get knocked up. That crash is just going to happen, but the turret will still stand tall. So perhaps a little too over-eager for Croco.
Yeah. They still do hold on to map presence at this point, right? They are still in control of Summoner's Rift, Yanni. OMG, at this point in the game, they're fighting to secure Gromps. They're pulling it to the very edge of patience in order to pick it up, and I feel like that just points to this Dragon Soul Point for LNG being a foregone conclusion. Waxen.
Oh, Chains of Corruption. Starry's got to get out of there, but not after losing both Summoners. Dragon in 20 seconds. LNG have full control. Quacks, there should be no mistaking it. LNG should be able to put themselves in soul.
Absolutely, and that's just brutal for Starry because now you get a good angle for a bullet time and you'll maybe fire off 1 or 2 shots before someone on LNG manages to find their way onto you and cancels that ultimate from dealing the maximum amount of damage that it can. And that's really the only way I can picture OMG having enough damage to win a fight at this point. Haichao, I don't think, is scaled up enough. Juhan doesn't have enough items. It's all on Starry's bullet time to make the difference, and he doesn't have the summoner spells to keep himself safe in any of these fights at this point.
Teleport coming in from BuLLDog. Sheer over on the side, lurking in the jungle. Croco is now stuck in the back of the pit. He's the only one there, missing, finding it hard to get in.
Just
as this dragon is getting very low. It's going to be a smite fight between the junglers, and it's secured by Croco with a hostile takeover, hitting multiple members. It's Sheer on the backside as well. That bullet time is not doing enough. That's the problem. Lots of low health bars, but you can't close them out. Croco will not get the bailout. It's LNG picking up the dragon, losing 2 members, but getting 3 kills.
I mean, hey man, that was the full duration of the bullet time. We said that was going to be the hardest part, and he managed to accomplish it, but the damage just wasn't enough. There isn't enough firepower on OMG to delete all of those health bars, and LNG, despite the decent setup from OMG to start out this dragon, do end up winning out once again. And I do have to point out, I really like Sheer's positioning. He's just waiting for the bullet time to happen, but he goes in too early. He gets hit by the Cyclone. This was kind of the worry I had with the Rek'Sai. If your timing is off, you just die before you can actually get to the back line, and that's exactly what happened. As off-screen, Moham went down again, but Yanni, you know the rule with off-screen deaths. They don't really count.
No, absolutely not. Well, it's going to count on the stat sheet for Moham, sadly, is that KDA has seen better days, but it's very difficult to have a solid KDA when things have fallen apart like this. I can't remember the last time Juhan has secured a blue buff. I think it was the first one he got.
He did win the smite fight.
Yeah, yes. He won the smite fight for the first one, but has lost everything else since. As Croco has had a really nice series for himself, picking great spots to get into the OMG jungle. A large reason why this team has an 8,000 gold lead. And Quacks, you know, talking about LNG as a whole, I mean, this is the could be the redemption, the potential roster, right?
Yeah.
With some of these players coming in, I think the expectation is that they are going to have a fairly easy time in Group Nirvana, and this is looking more like a we wish they were in Group Perseverance team, but in Split 2, perhaps they'll get to Ascent.
Yeah, this is probably the team that, for a lot of people, you know, looking forward to watching Nirvana games, are probably expecting to top the group. At least that's been the, I would say, consensus by a lot of the community. And so far, they're playing like it. I feel like this is a really good performance, and individually, I think that all of these LNG players, you know, most of them are fighting for redemption. 1xN is fighting to increase his stocks now on a better team here. They're all really putting their best foot forward here to start out and planting those seeds for something that could bloom and shine brightly for the 2026 year. We got Baron spawning up and LNG just holding the line on this top side. They're actually just going to straight up start this Baron, Yanni.
That could be a mistake. You know, you still have multiple members here. Another nice handshake. Here's that bullet time. It
doesn't matter.
Most of the time. Knock-up coming through for Juhan. Hery joins the fight. He's got a big shield, but his ultimate isn't going to land on anybody. BuLLDog forcing Haichao off on the side, and down goes the jungler. Starry and Moham going to run for the hills, but Sheer will chase him down. And now LNG can do whatever the heck they want, and they say, give me Hery and give him death.
Yeah, I mean, Starry had a decent bullet time. There was a good position for the Misfortune, but unfortunately, Crescent Guard hit you with the biggest nope card I've ever seen as LNG just dominate such a big fight, and it might be the one that damns OMG in this series, Yanni.
Yeah, we're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's now. Quacks, this Baron is going to go down 21.5 minutes into this game, 57 seconds until Mountain Soul, which LNG already looked fairly unkillable, but that will certainly seal it. Let's take a look at this replay.
This is really depressing from Starry. I mean, Crescent Guard, everyone is out of range except for Xin Zhao, and he literally blocks all of it. I mean, that's just very sad. And then on top of that, Haichao had a really good flash. I mean, he avoided the shuffle from BuLLDog. This was actually decently mechanically executed by the OMG members, but unfortunately, the wallets are just too fat on the side of LNG, and the chase down is just too strong. They win out on the fight. There's just no chance for a reprieve at this point. Juhan, though, is very behind enemy lines. This is a last-ditch effort if ever I've seen one. But yeah, I mean, you gotta go for something like this if you're OMG.
The problem is the Phaelites make it really, really hard to actually do that and make this flank play happen, which is their only effort. I mean, you see him over on the enemy red buff, right? Just waiting for something to happen here. Sheer getting chased all the way off here. Juhan. It's gonna hit that.
We found him.
That Scar's
Get him, boys.
Yeah, they definitely found him. All right, they're gonna actually keep going after him. It looks like that might be the case. Croco's 2 levels up, and he says, "Why not, man?" Juhan forced the flash away, but Sheer has marked him. Juhan's Cyclone will not get him out of there. Meanwhile, over on the side, BuLLDog. The Shurima shuffle, the root goes down on the Moham, he's gonna die too. Hery with a double knockup coming through, but he will fall all the same. It's just too easy for the LNG squad. They're averaging almost a kill a minute. Quacks, I have a feeling they might get there. Missing. He's gonna be able to clip Starry, and that means everybody else is gonna go after Starry to finish him off too.
Yep, Starry going down, and that will cement OMG's fate. LNG with a dominant 2-0. The road to redemption is long, and it is tough, but it all starts with a single step, and LNG start their road off with a very pleasant leap here in Group Nirvana.
No doubt about it, Quacks. They left no quarter. They have ripped apart OMG, and they're going to do it for one last fight while the Nexus is exposed. Hery goes down. They're just looking for kills. BuLLDog finally now getting a little bit more in his ledger. 25 kills in less than 25 minutes. Absolute domination for LNG.
Performance from 1xN, so good. He made on-hit Varus look strong. Yanni, that is just, you don't understand how impressive.
It is a little stronger now.
It is a little stronger now. Admittedly from every ADC player that I've talked to, they have been saying that the crit ADCs are just better this season at the current moment. On-hit is kind of out of flavor, except for Varus. And we see why in that game. 1xN with utter domination, his new support missing, and him just taking the reins, riding into the sunset here after a beautiful series. All of LNG, gotta give them all flowers. This was a clean executed 2-0 from the squad.
And now we've had every team in Nirvana play. So LGD 1-0 along with LNG. That does mean that Ultra Prime is 0-1. So now we get to kind of see how the group is going to shake out, right? We think that LNG are going to be the ones dominating this group. And if that's the case and we expect them to easily sweep out Nirvana, then what does this mean for OMG? Because, you know, they didn't look good today. So can you really extrapolate much, right? When they're going to play against LGD, when they're going to play against Ultra Prime, matches where maybe the teams, in terms of individual player skill, are a little bit more even.
Yeah, I think it's tough to kind of see what OMG's road is going to lead to here because, I mean, you look at this team, a lot of people were actually really excited to see these guys if you watched Demacia Cup, right? LNG kind of came in, and a lot of people were expecting this team to be a dark horse. Just on paper, they were expecting these pretty decent performances individually, at least from the core of Croco, BuLLDog, and 1XN. And for that to really be at the forefront of this team's gameplay, which it was today. But OMG, they took that to the max amount of games twice. They took them to game number 3 in the second phase, and then they took them to game number 5 in the third phase. And so people were saying that this was going to be a team that could be riding the coattails of LNG. Maybe after a few more reps could surpass them, could overcome them with a little bit more time in the oven. They're going to need to have a lot more time in the oven if this series is any indication. And honestly, Yanni, I'm really not sure where these guys are going to end up because I was actually really high on them after Demacia Cup. My opinion has changed slightly after seeing the series today. I think there is much to be done in this reconstruction. Those hard hats are going to be put to the test.
Yeah, but you got to strap it in and everything because this was not good, right?
And stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The high vis, maybe a clipboard too. You can get it anywhere with those. I think it's so weird because maybe the season change was actually just the difference, right? Like a bunch of small changes. It kind of messes with all these players who've been playing a certain way for so long. The game is, you know, so much faster in terms of startup now that it throws a lot of people off. And, you know, you're going to need to adjust as professional players and have to come out strong. And, you know, maybe it was just LNG not actually being at this stature in Demacia Cup, or maybe it is just those changes with it, the new season, that have put OMG kind of behind the 8 ball, or maybe LNG just has a really fantastic read on what they should be doing. It's so hard to kind of see from just one game. So definitely going to be tracking that specifically for OMG as we move on in Split 2 through Group Nirvana.
Yeah, particularly for, I think, Starry and Moham. These were guys that obviously they had really good laning phases in Demacia Cup, but I think their mid to late game, the way they executed team fights as a duo, was something that really stood out to me. And I feel like with the game being faster paced, like you said, it means that you're going to have to be quicker on the setup. You're going to be, you know, quicker on the trigger. And I do think that that is kind of an adjustment that OMG are going to have to make if they want to, you know, be competitive with teams like LNG again. I do think that the season changes do play a factor into it, but I also do just need to say that LNG, if this is a team that I want to see continue to evolve, right? I think a lot of people with this series, if it's any indication, this is a good start for a squad like this, and how high they can go is a question I think on everyone's mind.
Yeah, it just felt like Croco, 1XN, and Missing just running things. I mean, BuLLDog was there. You didn't need him to do anything crazy. He was your late game insurance, but I think those three, the conglomerate, the triumvirate, were really, really strong. Now, Quacks, it's time for us to talk player of the series. You know, 1XN had some gaudy numbers. Missing had 2 straight games, but I still think it's Croco. in my opinion, who
It's Croco.
did the most in both of these games. I think it is far and away, without a doubt. 1xn, sure, you did great yourself. You fought very well, but I think Croco made this game the series, I should say, very easy for LNG.
Yeah, he was making lore-accurate Xin Zhao jealous with how he was staying alive so long in that bot side fight. That single-handedly, I think, just turned the game on its head. Croco with the Xin Zhao, really, we talked about it when it happened, and I will reiterate it once again. The cerebralness to say, you know what, I'm not going to full clear. I'm going to abuse the Wukong while he's weak, before he has level 6, before he has that first item. I'm going to cut my pathing and just mess him up at his blue buff. Beautiful play, honestly. That set up the entire that set up the motion for the entire game. That one decision created such a domino effect, and I do definitely agree with you. I think that even though 1xn had really good moments in the mid to late game, even though Missing had plenty of really particularly good ultimates with the Renata in game number 2, all of that was only possible because Croco set up that early game perfectly for his team.
Croco was a guy that at the end of the year in LCK last year was, you know, not terrible, right? He actually had some pretty good numbers, was doing a lot of damage for OK Bro, and was really a middle-of-the-pack jungler. I think if you're a middle-of-the-pack jungler in LCK, you're going to be a damn good jungler in the LPL. So, you know, again, really looking for this team to be, you know, come together through Nirvana and then move up in Split 2 and Split 3 and perhaps be, you know, a dark horse. Think of like a maybe a Team WE or a EDG from last year. One of these dark horses that you'll say, you know what, maybe they do win a first round playoff match.
Yeah, and I would love to see that, honestly, and I totally agree with you about your point with Croco. I think that this was a guy who was definitely a middle-of-the-pack jungler and is now kind of coming up here into the LPL as one of the older, more experienced players on this lineup, to be honest with you. I think one big question that we didn't really get to touch on, but something we'll have to keep our eyes on as the series goes by, or as the season goes by, is his influence with Missing, right? How are him and Missing kind of linking up? Because the other player with a ton of veterancy under their belt who has, you know, been places, who has gone places, has been their support. And so I think that these guys I'm looking at to be the shot callers, how they link up with each other and how they're able to influence the rest of the map is a question that I really have, and I think will be a really big determining factor for how high this LNG squad can go. And hey, they linked up beautifully in game number 2 particularly, so off to a good start. I think that is the one sentence I can use for LNG after this 2-0 schlacking against OMG. I'm curious to see where this goes.
Lots of things to keep your eyes on here in the early goings of 2026 here for the LPL. And one thing that you're going to have to keep your eyes on is Group Perseverance, as we have their first match coming up next. EDG versus Team WE. Slayer and Bloxer will be carrying you through that one. So we're going to go ahead, take our break, do our caster change, and those casters will see you on the other side.